first livestock judging contest, the state champion teams from across the country came to compete, and our team, we were the top individuals in the state, so they put us all together to come and evaluate livestock, answer some questions about some of the classes we evaluated, and then defend our placings and oral reasons. So it was a long day of competing, looking at beef cattle, sheep, market goats, and market hogs.
Kind of describe the experience for me about what that was like. Paint a picture for somebody who's never been to a national livestock judging competition.
So I'll start off with being very serious, and you get there probably about 6 a.m. that morning. You go into a room, and from there they split you off into your groups, and it's a completely different atmosphere. It's not like a normal CDE. It's not like a normal sports competition. It is completely silent for hours. From there, once you get in that room, they split you apart. They're going to hand you out your notebooks and your judging cards, and they're going to bring you in groups across the groups of livestock. And from there, everybody does it a little bit different. You see some people, they start working, like me, I work from the ground up on an animal, especially on beef animals and that type of thing. I'm going to start their feet and work up, trying to monitor, their flank and all the way down to the depth of the rib. But you watch kids, they want to start with the hind views, or they want to see how they walk first before they start to evaluate them. And, we get to see that throughout the whole competition itself. But next, we get to where we have, like, your market lambs and those kind of things. Your market lambs you actually get to handle a little bit. You get to go feel the loins, the fat covering on them, and that type of thing. Be able to tell the quality of the carcass they're going to produce. After that, you're going to go and, like Trey said, you're going to answer some questions about these livestock. And that can be anything from, what color halter did this heifer here have on, or which heifer was starting to spring up and calving, the earliest sign of it. It was a lot of different stuff, and it could be something very obvious, or it could be something very, very small that you had to pick out between the animals. After that, we go back into what he was talking about with oral reasons. You're going to go into a room, and you're going to practice oral reasons in the same room as a couple hundred other kids, but exactly in 100% quietly. You cannot say a word out loud. You sit there and you go over and you think about those animals, and why you pick those animals to be what they are. You have your notepad of the notes that you wrote down about the animals, but you start to go through and think about it and how you're going to word it to a judge that also knows those animals, and they'll actually place you based on your oral reasons.
How do you prepare for an event like this? How do you get your game face on, and how do you develop the basic knowledge of what you're looking at? Because that seems to me like that would take years of practice and just practical experience of being with the animal.
Well, I've been around livestock my whole life and competitively judging since the 5th grade. And for me, a big portion of preparation is looking at similar classes. I was able to look at, via various websites, the classes from the previous year so I can kind of know what to expect. And I was able to work with a few judging coaches to work on my reasons, so that way I was a little better going and maybe had a little better terminology. I was able to present it the way the judges would like. And we were also able to go to a lamb farm, which we all knew was going to be our weakness, and get some hands-on experience evaluating higher quality animals closer to what we do in the competition. So really it's a lot of practice evaluation when it doesn't count. So that way when it did count, we were ready.
Now, how about you? I mean, you work with cattle all the time because that's your family. You work with Angus, right?
Red Angus, yes.
You work with Red Angus. How, working in that every day and seeing animals every day, how do you differentiate or how do you delineate between a market animal and what you would judge in a competition like this?
So, I'm going to start by saying, when we go into a competition, they're going to write down your top of your class. You're going to evaluate them based off two things. You're going to have what they call the replacement animal or a market animal. Your replacement animals is something that would be going into somebody else's herd. Most of the time, these are going to be heifers or bull classes. Market animals are going to be usually steers or heifers that are, fat heifers is a good term for them. And those heifers are going to meat production. But for me, how did I prepare? I've been raised around livestock my whole life, and that's actually how I actually got brought up kind of judging. I even realized it. Our vet started telling us like how we started judging cows, And I mean, he doesn't judge competitively, but he goes out there and he picks bulls for his herd and that type of thing. And he's actually the one that got me started working from the ground up on cows. It's actually said, though, that kids that come from a background such as me and especially Trey, we have a bigger disadvantage in those type of things. Especially judging beef, something that we've been around our whole life. It's believed that, you know, I have my favorites, and there's personal preferences I have for my herd that, a judge may not have. And the small things that we pick out that we're going to pick an animal apart on that we overthink it is the best way to say it. And, how did I get ready for it? We sell about 32-year-old bulls every year, and, we do a lot of culling on our heifer classes, on our heifer group every year, and that type of thing. So I spent a lot of time, going through not only our herd, we walked through them and I cut them out, trying to figure out which ones we had were the best, which were the best performing animals, based off of EPDs, based off of their physical appearance and that kind of thing. But both me and Trey went around the state during a state fair, trying to evaluate animals still that we haven't seen in a class that's smaller and trying to place them at that kind of circumstance too.
All right, let's shift gears a little bit. You're a current student.
Yes, sir.
Here at the Governor's School for Agriculture. What does it mean for you, given the infancy of this institution? Given the infancy, I mean, you're early on. You're still in this school is still in the infancy stage. What does it mean to you as a current student to be able to represent this school, this institution, not just yourself, but this entire institution, this experiment on a national stage and do so well?
Well, I think it means a lot. I help a lot with some of the farm staff trying to help them go and select bulls for their herd and that type of thing. And so, I think it means a lot because at that point, I know other people respect my opinion. You're based off of your classes. A perfect score is 50 of your classes. So in all of my classes, I think we had 12 or 14 classes. I placed all 50s except for 2, and they were both 48s. So I had almost perfect scores across the board. And, doing that on a national level and, seeing that we're from South Carolina really says something. And we're from a experiment school. A couple months ago, I had the experience talking to some people from all over the country. And, they said, I told them that what we were doing. And they said, South Carolina, they said, y'all usually don't do that well. Y'all don't have the livestock that, all these other states throughout the country have. So, for me to go out there and kind of show that we can compete, that was a really big deal for me. And then for me to come from here, trying to help other kids get started and that showing that we actually are growing as a school, but we're trying to grow the knowledge of the same students here, I think that's a big deal, not only for the state, but for the nation as well.
You are an alumnus you finished up your career here. And your story is unique in that you were a student who probably would not be considered a traditional student for a school like this. What does it mean to you as an alumnus to now be out there and be, in many ways, an ambassador for this experiment?
Well, I went to a lot of different schools, and I'm proud to say that the South Carolina Governor's School for Agriculture was the best, and I'm glad to share that. To be out at that national level, getting to represent that, to show we're coming out of here, we're coming out of this great school that not many people know about back here in the backwoods in McCormick. So that meant a lot to me. Not being the one I didn't have a traditional school background due to the different schools I've attended, due to my family's moving, and being able to settle in and create a second home. Why wouldn't I want to be an ambassador for that? For a place that did so much for me, he's done so much for J.D., done so much for all the other students here. I'm proud to be an ambassador for that wherever I go as an alumni now that I'm even now as I serve on the alumni board. So.